Well, joining us now to discuss the current state of affairs in Gaza and what Israel's next steps may be is Colonel Miri Eisin, a senior fellow at the International Institute for Counterterrorism. Colonel Eisin, always a pleasure to have you with us on ILTV. I want to start by asking about the current diplomatic push in Washington. Do you see potential for a deal to be made here? I mean, we hear they're discussing the day after in Gaza, and Witkoff stated the pressure is on Hamas. But from who? What evidence is there that Hamas will actually make a deal, assuming our own government does agree?
That's exactly the core question that all of us are asking. Who actually pressures Hamas? And I think one of the things we all have to ask every day, this isn't about the Palestinians, about the people on the Gaza Strip, it's about Hamas. Pressuring Hamas can come from Qatar. Pressuring Hamas can come from Egypt. Pressuring Hamas can come from their own people. But sadly, the United States does not pressure Hamas, meaning they don't have any kind of way to actually impact them. And even worse than that is that Qatar has two different voices. Hamas has two different voices. Hamas sitting in Qatar, they have one voice. Hamas sitting in the Gaza Strip, the ones holding the hostages, the ones who are the terror organization, actively every single day fighting against us, who really impacts them? I don't even think that Hamas and Qatar right now impact them. So it's the key question that there isn't a clear-cut answer to.
And of course, we're in a situation in which Hamas doesn't really have much to gain from their own perspective from making a deal. Speaking of the day after in Gaza, I mean, what kind of terms should Israel be looking at, should they be demanding when it comes to post-war governance in Gaza?
Element number one is that Hamas is not part of it in any way. And when I say in any way, that means both, of course, the whole military terror infrastructure, but they can't be the ones who run it in any way. This is a difficult aspect because Hamas will still exist. What that means is that other individuals, other leaders, both Palestinian and others, are the ones who need to run it. If there was somebody who would just step in, Emily, and do this, it would be a lot more easy. Nobody wants to step into the quagmire called the Gaza Strip. So as such, I think it's going to be a combo. Both locals, not Hamas, but locals, together with other elements much more moderate in their tone and what they're willing to do. I don't think any international organization, let alone any Arab country, will bring in money and actually redevelop Gaza until you have a real, clear, stable leadership that is not Hamas.
Now, on the diplomatic front, of course, Israel is facing tremendous criticism, especially after this strike on Nasser Hospital. And there's an ongoing probe as to who gave the orders to fire tank rounds versus the approved use of force, which was, I believe, a precision drone strike. Despite that, there were at least six terrorist casualties, as we're learning. Has Israel gone too far? I mean, are the standards too lax when it comes to dealing with civilian casualties in Gaza?
I think that where we are right now is that militaries make mistake, and my heart can go out for those who were killed. In that sense, I think that one of the things that differentiates us, and I'm proud of it, is that immediately the state of Israel, including the Prime Minister, the IDF, immediately took responsibility. We didn't push it off, and we're probing into it, and people are going to be held, soldiers, commanders are going to be held accountable. Having said that, 22 months of fighting, in all of these months, every single time, this is not the first time, but every single time we have been held accountable for having killed people who were not involved. For an attack like this one here, we have probed ourselves. We look at ourselves. We never, on purpose, target civilians. The terrorists surround themselves with the civilians. We could have a whole discussion about attacking in the first place, terrorists who hide themselves inside a hospital. But there's no question that we're only targeting terrorists and they hide themselves inside every arena. We always have to be better, and we have to check ourselves so that we keep it always moral and above in all level that we can.
I think it's also an interesting point that I heard yesterday about the fact that Israel's been fighting on so many different fronts, and yet you haven't seen these same phenomena occurring in other places. You didn't see Israel striking hospitals in Iran. You haven't seen it in Yemen. You haven't seen it in Lebanon. So it isn't really always about what Israel's targeting. It is truly about the use of human shields, as you mentioned. I want to jump a little bit to the operation in Gaza City. Where does this Gaza City operation stand right now, and what's the strategy for going in? Could it increase pressure on Hamas that works in Israel's advantage, or could it backfire?
We don't know the answer to that question, do we? That's why it's such a good one. But militarily, there's no question that when you go at Hamas, at their tunnels, at their cache of weapons, when you kill their operatives, when you show them for who they are, hiding and being inside the underground arena, hiding themselves underneath the civilians, that puts pressure on the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. If I was saying before, who puts pressure on the Hamas in the Gaza Strip? The IDF with its military actions. Will that backfire? I will say openly here, and I've stated it clearly, I don't hide behind this. I absolutely think that Hamas is so barbaric, so horrific, that Hamas would prefer, to execute hostages rather than have us get to them. And I say that because that is, I don't want to call it backfire, that is a sad aspect. The only way to pressure them is through the military pressure because nobody else does. But there's no question to me that they're so barbaric. They already did this in the past a year ago. And sadly, I think that they would do that again.
All right, well, we'll be following this story closely. Unfortunately, for today, we're out of time. I want to thank you, Colonel Miri Eisin, for joining us today.
Thank you.